Hi, I'm Brian with Jonesin to Go. Are you planning on upgrading your RV's battery to lithium? If so, be sure and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be notified, because today we're going to be doing the first of what we hope to be several reviews of different brands of lithium batteries. The folks over at Unowix, which is a startup company, reached out to us and asked us if we'd like to do a review of their 100 amp hour lithium battery. And one of the most common questions that we see on social media regarding lithium batteries is, do we really have to spend $1,000 a battery for a lithium battery, or can we get just as good a battery with a $400 or $500 one? So we're going to take a look at Unowix's battery today and see just what it has to offer. Before we get into the specifics of this particular battery, let's go over some of the differences between lead acid and lithium, or pros and cons if we will, and why lithium could be a better option for your RV. Number one, lead acid batteries are going to require more maintenance. From time to time, you may have to top them off with distilled water or just kind of keep those levels up. And that's something that you're not going to have to do with a lithium battery. They're virtually maintenance free other than keeping them charged up. Another thing about lead acid batteries is freezing temperatures will destroy them. So if you've gotten busy and you forgot to take that battery off when you winterized your RV for the winter, and you come back in the spring and you didn't have it plugged in and maintaining that charge, chances are you're coming back to a fried battery and you're going to have to replace it. Lead acid batteries are heavy. In fact, in most cases, in the comparisons I've done, they're double the weight of just about every lithium battery that I've looked at so far. The lifespan of a lead acid battery is far shorter than it is with a lithium battery. A lot of lithium batteries that I'm looking at so far, the manufacturers are warranting them for like 10 years. So that tells you what the difference is between the lifespans, between the lithium and the lead acid. One of the biggest negative things about a lead acid battery is they off-gas. So they need to be stored in an outside compartment in a sealed battery box that's vented to the outside. Lead acid batteries also, because of the liquids that are inside of them, can only be stored in an upright position. So that really limits you as to how you can store those in your storage compartment or where you're building your battery bank. Now let's go over some of the features of lithium batteries that make them a little more preferable over a lead acid battery. Like I said earlier, they're half the weight of a lead acid battery, so you can build your battery bank twice the size as you could with a lead acid and still maintain some acceptable weights within your rig. Lithium batteries can be stored for a long time and still hold their charge. A lot of videos that I've watched so far, some of these manufacturers are saying, you know, some of their batteries have been stored for 2 years, come back and they still have a charge in them where you can pick it up and start using it. Lithium batteries will provide a more constant current over a lead acid battery, and they can be discharged down to 100%, so you're going to use more of that battery's capacity. A lot of reading that I've done so far, they're recommending just stay within that 80%, but still, using that 80% number, you're still going to get a lot more capacity out of a lithium battery than you are with a lead acid, because lead acid batteries tell you don't discharge them down below 50%. So you're really only getting 50% of what that lead acid battery's capacity says it has. Another positive thing about a lithium battery over a lead acid battery is the charging time is much faster, and that's where the lithium batteries are going hand in hand with these solar systems that are coming on RVs now. Because with the solar system, if you're relying on your solar system, if you're boondocking, you're going to recover that battery's charge much quicker. A lithium battery is also going to have a longer lifespan. In fact, probably 10 times what a lead acid battery is. So when we're talking about the one big negative thing about a lithium battery, and that's the upfront cost, if you average that over the life of that lithium battery over, say, 10 years or so, you're going to see that the value pretty much averages out. One of the best and probably the most important feature of a lithium battery is it has a built-in BMS, What is a BMS? That stands for Battery Management System. And what that system is going to do is continuously monitor the battery for anything that could cause the battery damage. For instance, if the voltage of the battery drops too low, it'll likely shut the battery down. If you're trying to charge the battery in too cold of temperatures that could damage the battery, it will shut it down. So that's one feature that a lead acid battery doesn't have that could prevent you from doing damage to that battery. So that's one of the most important features of a lithium battery. So I want to talk to you guys just a little bit about how I'm doing these tests and why I'm doing it that way. So I'm doing the test at night, and the reason I'm doing the test at night is so that we don't have any charging mechanisms. All I have to do is unplug my coach from the pedestal that we have it plugged into, and I don't have to worry about the solar panel gathering energy and charging the battery. Now, could I just shut my solar panel off? Yes, I could. But not only am I doing these tests as a review to help you guys make a decision with your lithium batteries, I'm doing my own research. And what I'm trying to do is make it as real world as possible. So, how we use our coach, most of the time, we don't spend more than a couple, 2-3 hours on the road. So the batteries are charging while we're going down the road behind the truck. The solar panels are also charging if we shut the truck off, providing we have sun. And so when we travel for a long time, for instance, when we go to Florida for the winter time, we'll be on the road 2 days. And so we'll overnight on the road at least twice on our way down there. And a lot of times we'll pull over somewhere where there's no amenities, there's no hookups. So I want to make sure that I'm simulating how we are using our RV and when I'm going to rely on those batteries to keep appliances such as our 12-volt refrigerator running, and maybe the furnace. If we haven't gotten out of the cold environment yet, when we spend the night, we may have to run the furnace. So to give you kind of an example before we get into the review of this battery, our 12-volt refrigerator pulls 11.6 amps or 139 watts. So I'm using those numbers to see how long will one 100 amp hour lithium battery run this refrigerator, and maybe a couple other things like some lights, or having to run the slide out once or twice during that time. So I'm trying to simulate real world, and I'm going to do just that by taking these tests during the night when the refrigerator would be running when the sun's not beating on it. So it's not going to run quite as much as what it would during the day in warmer temperatures. So let's get into the review of this particular battery. Okay, so this is the 100 amp hour lithium battery from Unowix, which is a startup company, and they reached out to us and asked us if we would like to review their battery. And because it's a lower cost battery, we decided, why not? Let's take a look at it. That's one of the number one questions we see on social media all the time is, what's the difference between, say, a $500 battery and a $1,000 lithium battery? So we decided to go ahead and take a look at it. So let's start out by seeing how this thing is packaged for delivery and go over some of the information that I have thus far of this battery. So they do have it, looks like, wrapped up in about 1-inch styrofoam sheets. There is a box, or excuse me, a little baggie. It's got 2 bolts for connecting the terminals to the battery, and a plastic cap for the positive and the negative. And I don't see anything else. And there's the battery itself. Let's see if there's anything else in there. I don't see any. No, that is it. There's nothing else in the box. I really would have liked to have seen some kind of literature with maybe some startup instructions or some basic information. Seeing as how lithium is fairly new to the industry and people are really just starting to look at it and it's just starting to gain some traction, it would have really been nice to have maybe some technical information in there or some startup instructions. On the box, it does say that it's 11.8 kilograms, which comes out to about 26 pounds. So it weighs 26 pounds. The only information on the battery, other than the name and the name of the battery, on the back here, it's got the model number, which is 12-100. It's Rated voltage is 12.8 volts. Its rated capacity is 100 amp hours, of course, as we already stated, and the energy capacity is 1280 watt hours. This was shipped out of California. They do ship out of US warehouses, and I can tell you that when I got the tracking number for this, it was like 5 days later that I took delivery of the battery. It does have built-in BMS, which stands for Battery Management System. So what that means, again, is it's going to monitor the battery and not let it go into any kind of conditions that would damage the battery, such as cold temperatures. It won't let you charge the battery below 32 degrees, and it will shut the battery down once it drops below 10.8 volts. It comes with a 10-year warranty. I did not go through all the fine print of their 10-year warranty, and that's something that you're probably going to want to do if you're comparing batteries, is go through the fine print and the specifics of what that warranty really covers. And I'm sure that's going to vary from manufacturer to manufacturer. The price on this battery is $499.99, and that also includes shipping. As far as customer service, I did find a form that you can fill out on their website. If you have any questions or you need some technical information, you can fill out a form and they'll get back to you via email. I did not find any phone numbers where you could call and actually talk to a customer service representative. So I'm going to drop this in my fifth wheel and run the same test that I did with the lead acid battery and see how it compares next to the equivalent of lead acid as far as amp hours. So I'm going to do that, and I'll get back with you guys in the morning and go over those numbers, and you can see how it held up. As far as the construction of the battery, I mean, it's plastic. It doesn't seem like it's real thick plastic, but it seems to be somewhat sturdy. So we'll see how this thing holds up. Okay, we have results, but just a couple of things before we get to that. First, I want to thank the folks over at Unowix for sending out this sample battery for us to take a look at and do a review on. For more information as far as specifications and details on this battery, you can go to their website. I mentioned earlier when I was unboxing, they didn't have any kind of literature in the box. If you go to their website at unowix.com, you can download all the specifications for this battery. Secondly, I just want to let you guys know how we're measuring the batteries and where these numbers that we're going to give you are coming from. We have a 500 amp smart shunt from Victron installed in our fifth wheel, and that kind of goes hand in hand with the Victron solar controller that we have for our solar panels. So pretty good results. I've also confirmed those numbers with a clamp meter just to see that it was reading correctly, and they're pretty darn close. So I'm pretty happy with the Victron shunt and how it's performing. If you don't have some kind of a battery monitor to watch the level of your batteries and see what your batteries are doing and what the output is, I highly recommend you do that, and here's why. We just recently installed that, and up until now, we thought that the two lead acid batteries that we were using were doing a great job. And we found out during this test that they weren't doing as good of a job as we thought they were. Just because the fans were running in the refrigerator didn't necessarily mean the compressors were running. And that's not really a good thing for this refrigerator, and it's not a good thing for us thinking we have energy that we don't have. So, and I'll go into that just here in a little bit. So first, let's get to the results of the lead acid battery. And I'm going to put this up on the screen, and this is just a snapshot right from my smartphone where we monitor that smart shunt. So you can see at the end of 8 hours, we were still at 66% capacity with the two lead acid batteries. Now, keep in mind, these are two 100 amp hour lead acid batteries. The settings that I put in the smart shunt, where I set the floor of that to 50%, so that would equal 100 amp hours. So that we tried to keep it as close as we could, apples to apples, with the lithium battery that's a 100 amp hour battery. So you can see the results there. We used 69.2 amp hours in that 8 hour period, but look at the voltage. That's the important thing. We dropped to 11.72 volts with the lead acid. Now, at 11.72 volts, I checked the refrigerator and confirmed, mostly because the temperature sensors on the wall were showing the temperatures going up in the refrigerator. So I opened up the hatch on the outside, confirmed the compressors were not running. So that's where we had a lot of misconception before we put this shunt in. You know, we could hear the fans running in the refrigerator. We thought everything was okay. Turns out not so much. So let's look at the lithium battery results compared to the lead acid in the same time period. So at the end of 8 hours, as you can see, we are at 27% capacity with the lithium, and we used 70 amp hours out of that battery, and you can see at 69.2 lead acid and 70, we're pretty close to apples as far as how many amp hours we used. But look at the voltage. We still stayed above 12 volts with the lithium battery at the end of 8 hours. And I confirmed the compressors were running just fine. The temperatures were low like they were supposed to be in the refrigerator. And we still had that capacity, and we were still having that kind of voltage as an output. So the lithium definitely outperformed the lead acid. So let's look at another set of numbers, and I just left it go after I got those readings just to see how much longer that would run, and we got to 11.5 hours, and our capacity was down to 3%, and we used 93.3 amp hours, but look at the voltage. Still up there above 12 volts. We were at 12.59. So there's proof right there, folks, how lithium will outperform the lead acid. Not only for the reasons that I stated earlier in this video, but you can see it right there. That's real world numbers, and I feel very confident that switching over to lithium batteries is going to be the way to go. So guys, be sure and subscribe and maybe hit that bell to be notified as we get more companies to participate, and we'll show you some other lithium batteries. And then as we go through this whole program, at the very end, obviously we'll let you know what we chose to put in our fifth wheel and what size battery bank we decided to go with and why. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next review, and hopefully we'll have another lithium battery here real soon.